Good morning, sports fans. This is George with Custom Tied Flies and Guide Service, and I thought I would do a little tutorial for you on it's a bench fly that I came up with. A bench fly is something that you tie out of stuff you got laying on your bench. This is a yarn bug, so it's real simple. And these tend to be very effective. It's a wet fly. So, yarn, you get this at Hobby Lobby. The excuse me, it's going to have a wet fly collar on it. So I've chosen a feather off of Whiting American streamer hackle. It's going to have a rib. It's got a copper rib, so copper wire. Now, as far as where you get this stuff, like I said, the wool you get at Hobby Lobby. Now, of course, I had to order the streamer hackle, but the wire I got out of cord that I stripped, electrical cord that I stripped. And of course, the hook, in this case, I'm using a Mustad 3906 wet fly hook. If I were going to put a bead on this, I would use 3906B so that I have a little more length. But I'm not putting a bead on it. And of course, the thread here, I'm using Danville Flymaster 140 denier in brown. So tie in, you want to tie in about 2 eye widths back behind the eye, so you make sure you leave plenty of room for your head. Trim that tag off. Run your thread the length of the hook. Now notice how I did that. I want to be clear about this. The body is going to start back here where the bend and the top of the bend and the shank come together. Okay, so a lot of guys, especially newer guys, they get scared of the hook point, so they don't go back far enough. So don't be afraid of the hook point. Sometimes you clip the thread. You just got to kind of angle your bobbin so that you can get the thread back to where it needs to be. Now the tail on this is a little less than a shank length. So measure your thread, your yarn against the shank. All right. And then tie it in up by the head. Pinch wrap. Pinch the hook. Pinch the thread. Pinch the stuff. Run that all the way back. Trim it off. Now, you're going to want to rake this out. So I use a loon dubbing picker. But if that looks suspiciously like a boar brush, for years I used a boar brush. I just happened to, somebody gave me this. You just want to brush it out. So on the body, depending on the size of the fly, I'll either use the full three strands, or I'll pull one of the strands and I'll use 2 strands. And then, of course, as they get smaller, then I'll use 1 strand. So, again, tie it in the length of the body. And you do this because you're building body bulk. There are some bugs that you want body bulk. There are others that you don't. This is one that you do. Next, put in your copper rib. I tie my copper rib in about half the shank up. Sometimes it slips out. Ah! Sometimes you drop your spool and it makes a mess. I use an old pair of scissors to clip my wire. Couple half hitches up by the eye. Swing your bobbin cradle over. Now, you're going to want to give this a twist so it doesn't smooth out, because you want the segmented look. Try to keep it twisted. You want those wraps to touch. Take 3, hold that thread in place, trim it off, take a couple more just to make sure it's held down. Take a couple more half hitches. Now I counter wrap the wire. And you can use different colors of wool. There's a patent wool that's like a tan color. There's other colors of wool out there, or other colors of acrylic yarn out there. I like to try to stay with the natural colors, or with the natural wool. Because it pulls water in, so it helps to sink the fly. Okay, next you're going to put a little flash in it to kind of suggest wings that are kind of sprouting, or gill bubbles, and you just fold it a couple times. One strand ends up being about 1.5 inches long. Take a couple turns. Then you want to trim that off so that it's maybe a quarter of the way down the tail. So it looks something like that. Okay. And of course the last is your collar hackle. To prepare this, you're going to grab it by the tip, and you're just going to pull those fibers back. Depending on how sparse or heavy you want it, I want it sparse on this one, so I'm going to pull if your shiny side is toward you, you want to take the side that's furthest away from you and just strip it off, so you just got it like that. Then you tie it in. You want to trim that little tag end off. You see I left the fluff on there. Kind of makes it a little easier to grab if you ask me, so that's why I leave it on there. So as you're wrapping this, you want to stroke those fibers back. And you put that, try not to get your thread caught. There we go. Trim that off. You don't need that. Wet your fingers and pull those fibers back. You want them to lay back, so you want to try to get some thread up on the fibers so that you kind of lay back like that. Whip finish. A little head cement on there. And there you go. Basic yarn bug. Trout like these, bluegills like these, bass like these, and like I said, you can do them in different colors, but that's generally what a basic yarn bug is. They're really easy to tie, and I hope you have a good time with it. If you found this helpful, go ahead and like this video, and you're welcome to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Again, this is George with Custom Tied Flies and Guide Service. My website is www.custom-tied.com. Have a splash, don't forget the dash. Well, you guys have a good rest of the day. Bye.